Hey all, today we're going to do Threefold, Section 5, Part 3. After reaching the room, Junyo got undressed in the bathroom, tossing his stuff everywhere before he got in the shower. Where are you, Akura? Are you nearby? He reached out to her. No response. The three of them had made it to Yavera, but Jackson, Akura, nor Mateo had approached them. Akura could have led them here only so he could find their father. He could ask around town about him. The problem was, even though he remembered his father's face, he couldn't remember his name. He'd have to find him using the Tsukishima surname, even though he was not sure if that was his family name. Thinking of that brought up the image of that woman. He last remembered her handing over her chain and crest. She was a beautiful woman who was probably his biological mother. She had tears in her eyes last time he saw her. He never understood why at the time, but if she had to leave her children behind for some reason, that would explain the tears. She might be from here too. If he found his father here, he might find his mother. Before he delved into any family business, he needed to retrieve his rifle. Junyo concentrated on recalling the conversation between Atsuko and himself. Bits and pieces of last night started to come to him as he let water fall over his head. After a few women had left, Nuo and Biyu, who stayed, wanted to go somewhere private. Guinness obliged them. "We'll call this a draw," Guinness said, slurring some of his words. Junyo smiled and nodded, feeling the effects of the Reaper. Guinness nodded toward Atsuko, drawing his attention to her. "Tsuyoshi and I are going to entertain these ladies, since you'll be busy." Atsuko slid onto the stool beside Junyo. Junyo gave his attention back to Guinness, listening to the words coming out of his mouth, but not really cognizant of what he was going to do or what he meant by he'd be busy. "I'm gonna bring more of these upstairs," Tsuyoshi shouted at Guinness as loud as he could. Guinness's roar of laughter put a smile on Junyo's face. Junyo watched Guinness, Tsuyoshi, Nuo, and Biyu make their way through the crowded, noisy tavern before he turned his attention back to the young woman who had sat beside him. He rested his eyes on her, examining her face, who she might be, and why she decided to sit there. "Hello," Atsuko said. "Hello," he said. "I wondered if we might talk," she said. "Are you drunk?" "No," Junyo said. "What do we need to discuss?" "I noticed your rifle earlier, a handcrafted genetic hydro model." He swung the rifle from his back and held it before her. He nodded. "My family's work. My sister sent it to me the other day." "Are you certain?" she asked. Before he could answer her question, Tsuyoshi came from behind Atsuko and grabbed her in an embrace. "Cousin! What are you doing here?" Tsuyoshi asked. Junyo watched an annoyed expression spread across her face. Pursed lips, furrowed brow, and all. "Trying to have a conversation," she said. "You've drunk a lot tonight. You need me to walk you home?" Tsuyoshi must have just realized Atsuko was here. "No, I'm entertaining company. I can't go home." Tsuyoshi gestured toward Guinness, Nuo, and Biyu. Junyo saw they had stopped to wait for him before they climbed the inn stairs. Guinness lifted Biyu into his arms and made out with her. Nuo stood by laughing and fanning herself. "Is going off with him a good idea?" Atsuko asked him. "What about Suzume?" Tsuyoshi backed away, slowly shaking his head. "I'm not going to discuss that with you," he said. "Let's go, Guinness." "My room's on the third floor, Tsuyoshi announced. "Follow me." Tsuyoshi left the bar. Atsuko looked after him. She sighed. She refocused her attention on Junyo. "I apologize for the interruption." "I'm certain," Junyo said, ignoring what transpired and answering her question from earlier instead. You don't have to apologize for him either. He's drunk, and I'm certain because I wouldn't be here otherwise. Why do you ask? I've seen your rifle, Asuko paused, before today. I'm not sure where, but it's familiar to me. I see the SN engraved on it. I believe my mother would know who crafted it. Take the rifle to her, Junyo said. He thrust it into her arms. If you or she could give me information on the craftsman, I'd appreciate it. Junyo handed his rifle to her against his better judgment, but he knew why he had. He had not seen his father, his biological father, in years. He wanted to see him, even though no one could replace Takashi. He wanted to meet his father. Through him, he could meet his mother as well. We should wait until the morning, Atsuko said. I could be a thief. How can you trust me so easily? I don't trust you, Junyo said, coldly. I'll hunt you down if you don't return with it. I am sure you will, Atsuko said. She took it into her hands. After examining it, she gently placed the rifle on her back. You can trust me. Junyo did not respond. A brief silence followed. I don't drink, Atsuko said, but can I buy you one? I'd like to talk with you for a while. Normally, he would have turned her down, but because of what she offered to do for him, he felt obligated to accept the drink and conversation. He nodded. What will be our next topic of discussion? Asuko had the bartender pour him a shot of something dark blue, a lightning roar. This brought a smile to his face. I recognized your face earlier as well, she said. Aren't you a bounty hunter, tasked with bringing in notorious criminals to the authorities? Unlike most times, unlike most days, unlike in most of his dealings with those outside his reality, he did not let his smile fade. He allowed it to spread into a grin. Bounty hunter. That was a cover for his real profession, but he could not tell her that. That's what some people call me, Junyo said. He downed his shot. I think of myself as less a bounty hunter and more a man who brings criminals to justice. You don't just do it for the money? Atsuko asked, like the rest of them. Junyo leaned into her close, staring her straight in the eyes before grinning a second time, and spoke low with a seriousness. Never for the money. Junyo dressed to go back downstairs. He realized last night had completely come back to him. He did give the rifle to her. He remembered everything correctly. He believed he'd see his rifle again, and her. Some people rubbed him the wrong way. She didn't. She seemed to put her true self out there. Like Hugo. They gave you no reason not to believe who they were. This was part of the reason he let Chiyoko go. Junyo headed for the tavern to wait for Chiyoko and Atsuko to return. Alright, believe it or not, that was the end of Section 5. So tomorrow we're going to start Section 6, which is entitled Guinness. I hope you enjoyed this, and have a good night.